Welcome, everybody. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday. Welcome, Facebook. Tony, nice to see you. Judah,
And
how
see
you
you.
doing?
Good to meet you, Drew.
Yeah, good to meet you, Tony. I am very excited about having you on the show here today. For those of you just joining us, this is the Build and Grow with Real Estate show. We talk to local real estate investors as well as real estate agents, people looking to buy and sell real estate for a living, whatever that means, whether you're a transaction engineer for other people or whether you're in this game for yourself. Well, when Josh and I come to you every day for about half an hour at noon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we develop and deliver some content. After we spend about 5 to 7 minutes smoking and joking and riffing and raffing and having a good time, and then we get into some content on Thursday. We have a guest. That's why we've got a guest here with us today, and we will get to Coach Tony in just a second. And then Friday, we do our news wrap up. We talk about the news as it relates to real estate, or as Josh or I are interested in giving our opinions on the news. And some of our highest rated shows are those. And then on Friday as well, about the last 5 to 7 minutes of the show, we talk about crazy conspiracies that are out there and being discussed. And we find out just how wackadoo my buddy Josh is and how straight-laced and boring I am. You're like the Mulder and Scully, Josh. I just realized that. Only I'm Scully in this instance, and I don't necessarily like that. So let's forget that comparison. By the way, if you are one of our regular listeners, or even if you are a new listener, we just want to say thank you very much. It's meaningful to Josh and I. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate the loves. We appreciate the comments. Sometimes it feels like we're having a regular conversation with our people. We're getting so many conversations and comments during the show. So we just really appreciate those of you that are out there. We don't take it lightly that you decided to spend some time with us. Josh, that's enough from me. 2 minutes of show introduction. Why don't you tell us who the heck you are?
Sure. My name is Josh Weidman. I'm a hard money lender right here in central Pennsylvania. Hard money bankers. We have been lending money since 2007, and over that time, we've done over 3,000 loans. In February, we opened up an office right here in central PA, and we do direct lending to real estate investors for their projects. So if you have a project that you're looking for funding on, we are unique in a couple different ways. The first and foremost, because we're a direct lender, we're able to move a lot faster than a lot of the other people that you may be dealing with. We can underwrite the loan and get you approved within just a couple hours. And then once we get a little bit of documentation and paperwork from you, and I do mean a little bit, we'll be able to close within 24 hours. If your title company's ready, if your ducks are in a row, the money's there, we're ready to deploy, and we're ready to fund your deal. So give me a call today, 717-213-8488, or check us out online at hardmoneybankers.com. Judah, I know you're an executive at Slate House Group. Tell us what that means.
So that means, like most executives, I get to do way too much work for way too little pay and gratitude. But I also am a licensed realtor, and I've been doing this for about 20 years now. I've been, Josh, just like you, there's basically no facet of the real estate industry that I haven't touched on, from property management to lending to an active investor myself to a paper holder. Was probably my favorite way of getting involved in real estate deals. And I bring that to bear to help people do real estate transactions. Later on today, I am going to be listing 3 more properties on the MLS. So if you are out there and you are looking to sell real estate or are not sure what your house would be worth if you were to list it and sell it on the MLS, give me a call. Would love to talk with you. 717-766-7994. I know it sounds cliche, but right now is a great time to buy and sell real estate. And I only have 2 minutes, so I won't take more time than that. But just believe me when I say now is an amazing time to sell real estate, and now is an amazing time to buy real estate. And I want to talk to you about why, both for your personal residence and investment property.
All right. Without further ado,
That's
I've
about
never
5 minutes for
before.
5 minutes for show introduction and personal introductions,
Yeah, hit
and
the
here we
nail on the
go
head.
on the guest. So let's talk about what we've covered this week, just so Tony
Oh,
knows. We've talked about goal setting. We've
yep.
talked about why setting goals are important. We've talked about how
Overcoming adversity.
what's that?
Overcoming adversity.
Overcoming adversity. How if you a lot of people, what holds them back from doing their goals is negative experiences in the past, either bad things they've done or bad things that have happened to them or failures. And we talked about how writing about your past, using cognitive words, thinking that through will help your brain slay that monster so that you say, you know what? I now see what led to that. I now see warning signs. I now also see things I could have done differently. Your subconscious mind gives your conscious mind permission to go and take risks again and do things again. And also, the other thing we talked about was building motivation. Now, you want to build motivation for 1 month out, 1 month out, 1 year out, 5 years out, and 10 years out. We specifically focused on the 5 year out time frame to write what could 5 years from now look like positive and what could 5 years from now look like negative. So that's all content that we covered this week, Tony. And Josh said, "Man, I got this guy, Tony. He's awesome. He used to be a coach for me and helped me out a whole lot, get me to new levels. So help me out, Tony. Talk
Well,
to us
I
about who
think
you
Josh
are."
wants to say something about how wonderful I was.
I mean, listen, it doesn't stop. Like we jump on the show here. The first comment we get is from somebody that knows Tony and says, "Hey, Tony, it's great to see you." I mean, we got eyeballs all over the place, and he's bringing the crowd. I love it.
Right.
Listen, Tony is he changed my life. And look, I never said this to you, but I'm going to say it on the air here. Tony introduced me to some concepts that it took years for me to like. I got a pretty thick skull, and I'm a little bit more dense than a lot of people, you know. So it took a lot of trial and error to kind of sink in with some of the concepts that he covered in his coaching. I worked with Tony for what, 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, on doing some personal coaching and personal development. And one of the biggest takeaways that I got from working with him was this integration of work and personal life and how they're the same thing. Life is life is life. And you spend that life doing things, you know, sometimes you like them, sometimes you don't. But if you don't like them for a long enough period, you got to do something to change it. And, you know, integrating his SMR system into my personal life and just it has really just changed my outlook. Tony is a personal development executive coach, works with high-level business owners, high-level individuals that want to take themselves to the next level, and he's got a lot to share. So I'm going to shut up and give you the floor here.
I do want to pick up that thread, Josh, because during one of our coaching calls, you gave me the perfect summary of what I do that I've repeated to prospective clients many times. You get on the line and said, well, yeah, I have a business partner. And often after I get off the call, he says, okay, what did you learn today? What tip, technique, insight did you get? And you're like, he's not an expert on real estate. He didn't tell me do this or call that person. So your partner was starting to say, well, what are we getting? What are we getting? And one day you got on the call with me and you said, I figured it out. I walk in the office today, I see different things.
Yeah.
Since I'm living in a different world, I take different actions. And that is the essence of what you get from executive coaching. It's not a particular technique or a tip. It's how you see the world. Once you see things differently, you make different conclusions, take different actions. And most important for us as entrepreneurs, you get different results.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start there, and not necessarily on the results side, but you've been a business owner. I mean, you are a business owner. So like you come to this conversation not as somebody that is you know, just a learned and you know, intelligent person, but you've actually had hands-on experience with this in your life. What's your background? Tell us a little bit about that. How did you end up as an executive?
Okay, well, coincidentally, I grew up in the real estate business. My father started by renovating rundown tenement buildings.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was a mason by trade, having been born in Italy, came to this country and worked with his hands
Yeah.
till he became a real estate investor, buying and selling raw land and that sort of thing. But I spent a lot of time, as we used to say, driving the governor's carriage and playing the old banjo, by which we meant a wheelbarrow and a shovel. Uh, but I wanted to have a different life, as most immigrants' kids did. So I went to college, got an MBA at a top school, and went into the sort of traditional route, working at big, ugly, hopeless companies. Not that I have an opinion about big companies, but I did write a whole book about what's wrong with big companies today called Crimes of Cunning. You can get that on Amazon or Audible. So as I developed in my business career, I left the big corporate world, started several companies, sold one, had investment backed, institutionally backed, bootstrapped. And I got some coaching in the late 90s while I was working on my .bomb. And when we folded up that one, I said, what I really liked was the coaching. That was my favorite part of being an entrepreneur. So I developed that. And I started as a coach in the 80s and the 90s, took a break for the .bomb, and then I went back to full-time coaching since about 2003, focusing on owner-operators of businesses. These are people who show up every day, they're spending their own money. And one of the reasons I like owner-operators, and I'm sure you two can relate to this, is you care about your people, you care about your suppliers, your employees, your customers. It goes to your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. Businesses, the big ones, it's all about the numbers, and they can do some horrible things because they're just working about numbers instead of about human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
Now, goal setting is a very important part of this, and I've got a process for that. In fact, I'm going to give that away today.
That's right.
We have a URL we can put up there where people can download a PDF workbook along with an audio guide on how to do this planning process. This is the same process that Josh went through. The founders of Hard Money Bankers have gone through this process with me, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the key insights of this particular process is, instead of starting here with what you want to improve or change or fix, we start far out in the future, 10 years out. And the reason for that is, if we're just trying to fix and change things, it's built in that you're going to be discouraged and restricted. You can only rearrange the parts of what you have so many ways. But when I get people mentally into a farther future, they can be more creative. They can consider more possibilities. And from my point of view, most important, they can think about what really matters to them as a person instead of just solving some problem.
Yeah. All right. So now if I go to TonyMayo.com, I'm looking at it right here. Seeing your beautiful mug on here, Tony. Where do I go to get this?
So I'm gonna stream along the bottom. It's I think it's tiny.cc
It's a URL shortening service.
Oh, I got you.
So no www, nothing else. Just put in tiny.cc/SMRS, and that stands for specific measurable results, plural, SMRS. And I talk about, SMRs, because one of the keys, and I'm sure you've talked about this week, to having a goal that matters is for it to be specific, to be measurable, and about some result, something observable, not something in your head, not just a feeling. Because as humans, our feelings are most important. All we have ultimately is our experience of the present moment, but that's hard to deal with objectively. It's strictly a subjective thing. But certain results have a huge influence on how we feel. So we get very specific about that.
One thing
talk about the specifics there, Tony, because one of the things that we talked about this week is how when you're specific in your goals, it brings the universe is overwhelming. And when you're specific in your goals, boom, the universe all of a sudden is shifted into related to my goal and not related to my goal.
Yes.
So talk maybe a little bit more about why I'm interested in your take on why your goals should be as specific as possible.
Well, as you think you alluded to in the intro, our brains are ultimately respond to very simple things. And most of us are overwhelmingly visual. I mean, depending how you measure it, something like 2/3 to 3/4 of our brain is devoted to visual processing. So we need images that are clear. I use the expression cinematic clarity. I want you to write that goal so clearly that you could hand it like a script to a cinematographer and she would know how to shoot that scene. Because
Mhm.
when you do that, your brain knows what fits and what doesn't, what matters and what doesn't.
Are you familiar with the book Mach 2 with your hair on fire? He uses the
I've
same.
heard the expression, but
Well,
I don't know the book.
okay, so it's a book about and it's specifically geared towards network marketers. I
Mhm.
love the network marketing industry because I think that they do some of the best teaching on goal settings and
As far as I
mindset
can
and
tell, that's their
philosophy.
primary product.
Right, exactly, exactly. Unfortunately, they don't do as good on nuts and bolts. And it's funny because real estate investors do really good on nuts and bolts and specific techniques and specific words to use on bandit signs and flyers and stuff like that, but they spend almost no time on mindset. And so I've kind of been successful in both of those arenas because I've blended the two. I've taken what I know from real estate and put it in network marketing and taken what I've
Mhm,
learned from
mhm.
network marketing and used it in real estate. But anyway, Mach 2 with your hair on fire is a network marketing book where he uses the same expression. Sorry, this is a long setup just to say I agree with you. And he says it needs to be cinematic. You need to be able to see everything as if it was a scene. What's it going to be like? Like don't just say I want to, spend summers on the beach. What's the temperature going to be like at 7 o'clock in the morning because it's still just a little bit crisp? Are you
Right.
are you going to need to bring your sweatshirt to the beach in the morning? You know what I mean? Is it going to be cold enough that you're going to enjoy hot coffee even though it's August in the beach because you're up to watch the sunrise?
Right. And I
You know what I
think
mean?
this
Like,
cinematic clarity is a general principle for goal setting and really just directing yourself on your life. But there's another aspect of it that's particularly important for the kind of people I think watch this show. I know it applies to the three of us. We're ambitious. We expect a lot of ourselves. We want a lot out of life. And we run into this problem that I call the receding horizon. Yeah, we set a goal. We work towards it. But as it comes within reach or when we get it, we forget that was the goal. We see the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. We forget to be satisfied.
Yeah.
When I first moved to the DC area from New York, I took a job, heaven forbid, where they said, in a year to 18 months, we'd like to promote you to this job. I worked very hard at that, and in less than a year, I got that promotion. But the important thing is, many mornings while I was standing there in the dark waiting for the bus, I would think about the new Corvette I was going to buy when I got the promotion. They
Yeah.
just come out with a new body style, and I thought, that's the one I want. And when I got the promotion and the money and the stock options, I thought, hey, I could go buy that car, but it's really just not that important to me. I'm going to put the money to one side. And within months, I was frustrated, bored, and I quit that job. I really think it's because I didn't take the reward. I told
that's
myself,
amazing.
you do this, you can have that. When I didn't get that, I didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
Right, right, right. That's the problem is people fit into one of two camps. They either don't delay gratification. They
Right.
play and then never work, or they work, 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 work and never play. It's about working, delaying the gratification until you've achieved the goal, and then letting yourself feel the rewards of those accomplishments.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, a
What?
friend of mine summed it up. In fact, it's in that workbook that you can get for free.
Yeah.
He said, enjoy the cookie.
Mm,
That's perfect.
that's
That's perfect.
great.
I like particularly that it's a cookie because so many of us feel guilty about eating that kind of thing.
Right,
Hey, if you're eating it, enjoy it.
right. Yeah, you're gonna get the calories anyway.
You bet.
So you might as well eat the cookie and enjoy it while you're eating it. Yeah,
Right. As
that's
another friend used to say, there's no extra points for suffering.
That's
right.
But it
Right. So
seems that way, doesn't it?
Right. It does. Let me ask you a question here, Tony, because you talked about work-life balance. Josh talked about you talking about work-life balance, and you just kind of touched on it. The importance of if you're ambitious and you find yourself chasing a receding horizon. 41, I have to worry about a receding hairline. I almost had a Freudian slip there.
Oh, you're
So
breaking my heart.
if you if you find yourself chasing a receding horizon, other than enjoying the cookie, buying the Corvette, what are some other ways that ambitious people can find that work-life balance?
All right. So one of the things about the way I do executive coaching is we recognize the power of language. That's how we store ideas. It's how we share ideas. It's how we clarify our own future. And as Mark Twain supposedly said, who knows? He attracts quotes like a new suit attracts stains. But he said the difference between an accurate word and the perfect word is the difference between a lightning bug and lightning.
Right.
So I tried to encourage people to say, don't say work-life balance. Because if you think about, sort of picture one of these old-fashioned balance scales with the two dishes. To balance your work and your life, you have to split them up and put them in different pans. That doesn't work, especially if you're an entrepreneur where you have so much flexibility in theory. Nobody really wants work-life balance. We want integration. We want all parts of our life to mesh and work together like a finely honed machine. And that's the answer to your question. Stop chasing balance. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Find a way to live your values all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if one of your values is having people feel good about themselves, well, do that with your customers. Do that with the supplier who screwed up. Do that with your 4-year-old. Be the same person everywhere. It's a challenge, but it always tells you what's next.
So I want to jump in on that. A couple months ago, I saw a quote, and I was just bringing it. I just brought it up yesterday. It's a Japanese proverb or whatever, and it says something like this. I'm going to butcher it, I know, so excuse me if I do. But it goes something like this: each of us has 3 faces. We have the face that we show the world. The second face is the face that we show our close friends and family, and then the third face is the one that no one ever sees. But that's the truest representation of who we are. And like the idea is, if you can align those faces, and you're certainly not going to show the same information, the same face to everybody in the world. But if you can align those based on your values and based on your underlying principles, you don't work. I mean, like it's not like you're not doing work, but it doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're just living your best life.
There you go.
Yeah, it's awesome. I want to circle back to the SMRs a minute. One of the things that I really thought was fantastic with these SMRs. So many times we set a goal and it's like, oh, in 10 years I'm going to do this thing, but then we don't do anything between now and 9 years and 11 months, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, I have all this work to do in 1 month to get this done.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't matter if you delay a 10-year goal by 2 or 3 days or even a month or 2. But if you have a goal of what you want to accomplish this week, 1 day is 20% of the time to accomplish that. My older brother Jared said to me once, he says, people who are salesmen and they slack off on Friday, that's 20% of their productive week.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. Talk about SMRs.
Yeah, I mean, how do you?
Narrow it down for me, because as you've seen me do, I can talk about it all day, literally.
I mean, I know. Look, they get broken down into 2-week intervals essentially, but why 2 weeks? Why 2 weeks instead of?
That's something that comes from the project management business. And I used to sell project management software for huge projects. We used to tell people, if you're not spending $1 billion, it's not worth buying our software. And that gave me one of my insights about planning in general. And so especially in business where you're planning a lot of complex activities with many people.
Yeah.
The key purpose of a plan, especially a detailed, cinematically clear plan, isn't so things turn out exactly like you plan. They never do. It's so that when things
Yeah.
inevitably deviate, you know what's off so you can deal with it. So, so that's a well-established field ever since World War II. Operations research and project management has gotten very sophisticated, mathematical, and they found that planning in detail for teams work anything less than 2 weeks just is pointless, especially when you get 2 months, 2 years into the future. So 2 weeks seems to be about the smallest useful planning interval. It also gives some people some leeway. So what we do is I take people through a process where they get a picture of what they want in 10 years, and then we bring that back to 5 years. Where would you be in half that time? 2.5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, and 2 weeks. So you have this consistent plan in front of you for everything. We're not over planning years 6, 7, and 8. I mean, that's too far out to have any idea.
Yeah.
But as you get closer, and it's interesting when I do this in a workshop environment with a room of people, 10 years, oh, what a blast. That's great. I mean, no constraints, lay that out. 5 years, sure, I can figure that out. 5 years, 2.5, yeah, still theoretical. When I get down to 1 year, a remarkable number of people take bathroom breaks.
Right.
It happens every time. People
Right.
get antsy. They say, oh, no, I'll take care of this later. I'll get to it. Making it closer in time, quite real, is a matter of discipline. But once you've done that work, it's hard to ignore it. It also
Yeah.
gives us a nice format since I generally meet with my clients every 2 weeks. And Josh, you were one of the most scrupulous about this. You showed up at every one of our scheduled meetings saying, here's what I promised I'd have done by now. Here's what I've actually done. This is what I'm going to do next.
You just said something that I actually forgot about, but really jumped out to me. When you're creating these goals, we're not creating them as these abstracts. This is what I'd like to do these in the next 2 weeks. This is a promise of what I'm saying I'm going to do. And did I complete that promise?
Yeah.
I mean,
again, Josh, I'm going to be a coach and go for the precise language.
please.
I don't care what you do. This is what I say is going to be true in 2 weeks. This result will have occurred. I luckily learned that early on. I was at a program and they said, set some specific measurable result for your workplace.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I had at JOB with a W-2. And I said, I'm going to have a teamwork training class at my company. And I was just a subordinate. I was 4 layers down. Well, halfway through my time period, the company called a retreat. Somebody walked in the room and said, okay, we're going to be doing teamwork training for you now. I thought, well, I don't think I caused this in any way. Well, what do I do? So I went back to the mentor. She said, you won. Enjoy the cookie. But you see how that opens your life up? You don't have to do everything all the time. You have to be on the lookout for it. You have to be an opening for it, as we say. So the 2-week SMRs, not what you do. It's what's true.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think that's absolutely awesome. And I think that's, if somebody's even looking at taking a baby step, even before they get to, the point of wanting to hire an executive coach or something like that, maybe that's not right for them. I had a former boss and he knew that I was investing in real estate on the side, and he's still a good friend of mine. And he said, do you want me to call you at the end of the month and ask you if you've done this, this, and this? Do you want to set up a monthly call where I just hold you accountable and ask you? Because that's probably not 90% of it, but that is a big chunk of it. Just like what you said there, Josh, is this is what I will have accomplished. This is what will be done. This is what will be true 2 weeks from now. Yeah. Here's how I did, either good or bad, lined up against that, and here's what I am going to do for the next 2 weeks. I have a 1:00 lunch scheduled tomorrow with an individual who we are forming that type of a relationship where we are holding each other accountable for some big goals of what we are looking to accomplish and what we're looking to put together. It doesn't have to be, if you don't have the budget and you're not there yet. I mean, I always say let income lead expenses. it's not an all or nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. I verbalize, I process
Right.
things out loud. It's not all
Sure.
or nothing. It's not, I'm not going to do any type of goal setting or goal work or goal planning until I have the budget set aside to hire an executive coach. Well, no,
Yeah.
there's some things you can do to get ready for that.
Right.
Hmm.
So Josh,
Yeah.
tell me, what was it like when you do our call was scheduled, say that day or the next day, and you had some results that hadn't been produced yet?
It was a frantic dash to the finish line sometimes, and it was always the thing that I didn't want to do or didn't want to. You know what I mean? It's always
Yeah.
the stuff that you don't want to do that you save till last. But
Mhm.
I knew that I was going to have to face you and tell you, hey, listen, I didn't get this done.
Yeah.
And that's
So see how powerful that is? I mean, he's the customer, but he doesn't want to disappoint me. It's just human. We're taking hey, a future entrepreneur there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that having an accountability partner is very powerful. In that kit you can download, there's a whole page of things that help keep you on track. Accountability partners, hanging up signs, having little reminders and talismans in your pocket or on your mirror. I call that life support systems. This is the life you want. Here's how you support it. And an accountability partner is very high up on that list.
Well, I got to tell you, I am excited, Tony, because I clicked on, I was getting distracted before trying to find your book on Audible. So I'm going to do that later. But I've already clicked and have a separate browser open here for tiny.cc/SMRS. And I would encourage everybody to go and do that. I will be doing it right after the show. Is there
Good.
anything else that you want people to know about how to get in touch with you or other offerings that you have or anything like that? I've gotten a whole lot of content out of this.
Yeah.
Well, good. There's a lot more linked to that particular page
Yeah.
about goal setting, about getting things done, and just generally being successful in life. Other than that, there's a contact form on my website. So if you want to reach out, do that, or they could contact you, and you know how to get to me another way.
Yeah, I mean, Tony, I would recommend working with Tony if you've been thinking about hiring an executive coach, or you're just looking to work with someone that can help you, work your way into that next level. Tony has been a really vital part of my success, and I want to thank you. I really appreciate you being on the show today.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. So, hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure you like and share it. We'll be back here tomorrow with more crazy content on our End of the World News Day on Friday. We really appreciate you being here. Thanks again, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.